This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Cubs Postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel as the Cubs lose 7-4, giving up 5 home runs to the Cincinnati Reds. Shota Imanaga giving up 3 of those, 29 home runs on the season. He has now given up 24 of them solo, so we'll talk through that. We'll talk about Porter Hodge, his performance, a little discouraging, I would say, some positive outings. I think some questions about Porter Hodge and if he'll even be on the playoff roster at this point. We'll talk about kind of just the best way that they should approach this, because honestly, even though they've locked up a spot in the wild card, I would have liked to see Craig Counsell be a little bit more aggressive at this point, even with Hodge getting hit around there, bringing in the bullpen arm. The magic number as we sit here and we're live is still 5 for the Cubs to be the number 4 seed and lock up home field in the first wild card round against the Padres. Let's start the show off, though, with Shota. So Shota's given up 29 home runs on the season, 24 of them solo, 3 tonight. And look, you saw the frustration in the game. He kind of folds his arm across his body. I think that was after after the second home run. Look, this is, and I see the comments in here. I think this is a good question by James here. And I was about to get right to it. Is he missed a large chunk of the season, and he's giving up 29 homers of the season, which means if he pitched in every start, then maybe the number doesn't look as bad as it is. But when you factor in the lengthy time that he was out for the season, you add that in, he's giving up home runs at a pretty brutal pace right now. And it's not to the point where, I'm like massively concerned, because again, they are solo home runs. It's positive that there's not a lot of guys on regularly that's allowing major damage, but that's not going to be a recipe for success in the playoffs. That's where whatever's going on with these home run balls, like the Cubs have to get in the lab here and figure out why it's happening. A lot of 2-strike home runs as well. Like you're up in counts and you're giving up home runs. That's discouraging for Shota, because for the most part, like he was good outside of the home runs. Like he's giving you starts in which if you take the home runs out of it, you're happy with them. And he's not the reason why the Cubs lost this game exclusively tonight, but it didn't help. It didn't help with what he did on the mound. And the question, I think, for Shota at this point is do you feel confident in him in the postseason? I want to say yes. I do want to say yes. But this is where I think the Cubs having home field advantage is very, very important because of the home run ball for him and what we've seen from Boyd lately. These are guys who are not pitching at their best performance for the Chicago Cubs. And if you have home field advantage and the wind is blowing in, Wrigley can help you. Like, frankly, that's a bummer to even think about, having to think about needing the wind to help you out in the playoffs. But I think that will be ideal for what's happening, specifically with Shota on the mound right now. So that's definitely concerning. Of course, they're going to play at Wrigley and it's going to be blowing out all 3 games and it won't matter. And this is kind of what Great American Ballpark does, right? Like we've seen it in the summer before all the time. The ball flies out of the yard there pretty frequently. We saw it with the Cubs today on the flip side with Matt Shaw with the big home run, Dansby Swanson with the home run. We'll talk about the play at the plate that happened in the first inning as well here in a second. But 4 runs also isn't enough to win. Now, it's unfair to ask your offense to score 8 in a game frequently, because that's not going to happen. As good as the Cubs offense can be, asking them to score 8's not enough. So then let's get to Porter Hodge here. Porter Hodge, not a good performance from him. You got a runner on first base, gives up a 2-run home run, and then the next batter comes up and hits a home run as well. His balls were hammered just as well as much as Shota's were. Porter Hodge has shown a couple positive appearances since he came back his last stint from the injured list, right? But I do think that I don't think we can expect, or it's a guarantee that Porter Hodge will be on the playoff roster, especially when we think about guys like Soroka being part of the bullpen, potentially Taillon being part of the bullpen. Like, however the Cubs are going to plan this out, specifically in a 3-game series, Porter Hodge is not pitching well enough for the Cubs to pitch in the postseason, which is why, even though, yes, again, you've locked up a playoff spot, that's positive, first time since 2020. I don't want to take that away from the Cubs, But I don't know why Porter Hodge stayed in as long as he did. He didn't need to. You could have taken him out sooner. And, he did end up not giving up any more damage after the second home run. That's a positive, I guess, but not really. He did his job, frankly, got out of the inning without giving up more damage. But I would have liked to see Craig Counsell use someone else there. And they were talking about this on the broadcast. I know there is a delicate balance here at this point in the season, right? Where you are trying to set up your rotation. You're trying to keep your bullpen healthy and everything ready to go. Because the guys you're going to rely on, Keller, not Palencia at this point, Thielbar, Kittredge, like those are the guys you're going to rely on. But this is the question. Same situation tonight. Who gets the ball in the sixth inning? Those are your 7, 8, 9 in no particular order, just because it's going to depend on matchups. Who is getting the ball in the sixth inning in a playoff game? That's my question, because it's obviously not Porter Hodge, right? Is it Rogers? Is it Savale? No, he probably won't be on the playoff roster at this point. I guess it's matchup dependent. So maybe if it's lefty heavy, it's probably going to be Pomerantz. Maybe that's where, a guy like Javier Assad factors in, in the playoff roster. But that's where the Cubs starting pitchers, not just with tonight's game, and this is more of a big picture question, is who is getting the ball to hand it off into the seventh inning in the playoff series? Who is getting the ball to Kittredge and Keller and those guys? Because I don't know for sure if it's a righty-heavy lineup who the answer to that question is going to be. It feels like they should have an answer at this point in the season, but I don't think they do. It would have been nice if Porter Hodge could have been that guy. Maybe if Daniel Palencia comes back, I don't think we'll see him return to the closer role. So he probably is the X factor in this equation of how you get through the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning of a game in which your starting pitcher only gives you 5 innings. But the Cubs, between Imanaga and Boyd, are not really showing that they're going to be able to go deep into games. Maybe it's Soroka, Rob says here in the chat. I think that's a valid one. He's only had a couple appearances, but it looks positive from what we've seen from Soroka. It's hard to know because he's still such a fresh Cub at this point. He's had, 3-4 appearances since he became a member of the Cubs. So we'll see how it shakes out, but it was just not a good night for the Cubs. 5 home runs is way too many. It doesn't matter how hot it is. It doesn't matter what ballpark you're in. It doesn't matter if you're playing in Colorado and you're playing, the Rockies. You can't give up 5 home runs in a game. It's unacceptable from the pitching staff tonight. And again, that starts with Shota Imanaga, who has given up 29 home runs in a season in which he has missed a ton of time. Marlo says here, Counsell, he calls him. That's not me. Counsell literally punted a win to save 3 outs. It's bad. Yeah, it's a delicate balance, but the magic number, again, as we sit here to clinch up that home wildcard spot, is 5. And while the Padres have been struggling, last I checked, they're losing to the White Sox. You still want to clinch that. You don't want to have to go on the road to San Diego, to a crazy, awesome environment. You want the Wrigley faithful to be there as loud as they can be in the first wild card series, but as you try to win that and then take on the Milwaukee Brewers in the NLDS. All right, we'll take our break here. We'll talk about what we saw from the offense tonight. We'll take your questions and comments as well here in the chat. That's all coming up next year on the Locked On Cubs postcast. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for a nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. At zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. Today's show is also brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And finally, today's show is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine and 17 bold flavor. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Always got one in my backpack just in case. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get the boost that you need. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine flavor an upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. One thing we forgot to mention, we'll do that here. Let's get to our turning point of tonight's game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So this is where I feel like it really falls apart here for the Cubs, is the bottom of the 5th inning. Yes, there was the Porter Hodge outing that comes after this, but you've got a walk here in the bottom of the 5th, and then the error on the throw to first base. You've got a runner on second with no outs, and you get the ground out, so it makes it a runner on third with 1 out. So you have gifted the Cincinnati Reds a runner on third with 1 out. That can't happen. That is not good baseball. That, like Shota, Santana, all parties involved, but you put a runner on third base with no out, runner on second base with no outs. They move him to third. Now Shota gets the strikeout, but then Friedel comes up, who seems to have his best moments of the season against the Cubs, gets the RBI single, and it's 4-4. That's, to me, where the Cubs really lost this game. The momentum swung the other way for the Reds. And yeah, if Porter Hodge comes in, but maybe Porter Hodge doesn't come in. Like that's kind of the point here, is maybe, Porter Hodge, if you're up by a run, isn't the move that Craig Counsell decides to make. That's where I think when you talk about this team and the little things, that's the stuff you want to see really get cleaned up before the postseason arrives. Let's see. Question about Boyd, Boyd needs to skip a start. Any objections? No. I don't think there's any objections to that. I think more likely what we're going to see is one more start for Boyd and then extra days off. So I guess it's technically going to be a skip, to where probably same thing with Horton. I think with the extra day off, this coming start he'll have early in the week with Assad going on Sunday instead of him, will likely be his last appearance for the Chicago Cubs in the regular season this year. Cubs fan says, no, Porter in the playoffs, he's bad. Horton game 1 should be a lock. I agree. I think Cade Horton should get the ball in game 1. I don't know. Because you watch a game like today, and I kind of waver on the idea that Craig Counsell would, want to put Shota on the mound. Because here's the thing. Shota has as much playoff experience as Cade Horton. There's no difference. And I don't think Boyd is the answer. I don't think Boyd's getting the ball in game 1. I think Boyd's your game 3 starter in the wild card series. So potentially not even having to use him. It's Shota and Cade, I think, are the 2 guys. With the way Boyd has been pitching lately, and again, we just talked all about the home runs that Shota's been giving up. But I think Boyd's the guy you're seeing in game 3 of a series, and potentially even, if you want to go really crazy, you could use him in the bullpen in one of these games if you wanted to. Like if you want to have Cade only go 5 innings, you could bring in Boyd to try to shut it down against the Padres the rest of the game. Like you have options, but most likely what's going to happen is it's going to be those 3 guys if it's a 3-game series. But yeah, I agree. I would like to see Cade Horton at this point just get the start in the playoffs. He absolutely deserves it. He has been pitching better than anyone else on the Cubs. He's been pitching better than anyone else in baseball since the All-Star break. So I agree. It's not even a question at this point of who is going to get the ball in game 1 of the series. We'll see if Craig Counsell agrees. I doubt it, but we'll see. Rob says Boyd has been really bad for several starts. Tyon might be a better option. I think that's an interesting thought, Rob. If Tyon finishes really well, I think we could see if I don't know a ton about I've watched the Padres play, right? Obviously. But knowing what their splits are and things like that against righties and lefties off the top of my head, I'm not going to know the answer to. So if the Padres are way more susceptible to right-handed pitching, you could see that. You could see a change. I doubt it. I don't think we'll see that. I think it'll be Boyd in the third game of the wild card series if it gets to that. But at this point, I'm just kind of hoping it doesn't. Kevin says Santana and Turner are so old they need to go up to the plate with a crutch to hit. Yeah, I mean, I don't love this old man lineup. Justin Turner came through at one point today with a nice hit. The Cubs didn't take advantage of it. They had runners on first and second with 2 outs. But I don't – in the postseason, I don't think we'll see this unless the Kyle Tucker thing doesn't get fixed. And I know Craig Counsell says he hopes that Kyle Tucker starts running next week in the playoffs or at Wrigley Field, but that's kind of a wait and see. All right, let's get to what you'll be talking about after this game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Kind of mentioned this already, but I think the biggest takeaway from this game, besides the home run balls and Shota Imanaga, which is the number one thing that we're all going to be talking about here, is the strategy that Craig Counsell is going to use the rest of the season. How you're going to deploy your rotation, your bullpen, your lineup. Because again, while it's important to rest guys, the Cubs are not exactly a consistent baseball team. You know, if you have guys that are hot, I don't want to see them have extra days off going into the postseason. You want to see the best players playing at their best as you get ready for the wild card series. I think that includes your bullpen. I think that includes your rotation. Like, you have to set it to make sure Cade Horton can get the ball in game 1 or game 2. Same with Shota and Boyd, whatever your plan is. I get all that. But specifically the back end of the bullpen is, what is that going to look like for Craig Counsell? I'm very curious about at this point, just because, you know, in a game like tonight, you could have been better off, in which this is essentially this is a playoff series for the Reds. Their season is pretty much online. The Cubs could end the Reds season if they win the next 2 games and split this series. Now, the Mets are not good currently, so maybe the Reds season won't totally be over. But I would like to see, you know, to still play with the normal aggression and urgency that you would want from this team. Because I don't think just taking your foot fully off the gas in sports, whether it's in baseball, basketball, in the NFL, like, I don't think it's wise for me. I think you got to play to your best of your ability to get going. You have to get guys going. Like, Seiya Suzuki is looking a little bit better. PCA had a good day at the plate. Michael Busch, much better for the most part recently. Like, that stuff needs to continue. And that kind of goes back to where I don't need to see a ton of Turner and Santana at this point in the playoffs again, or in the rest of the regular season. We'll wait on Kyle Tucker. I think best case for Kyle Tucker is a short ramp up in that final series, and then seeing him return in the wild card series. And look, I don't know if you need Kyle Tucker to go far in the playoffs. I think you do. He obviously hasn't been great this season, to be honest with you. I will say, like, if you go look at the numbers, Kyle Tucker's not exactly a killer in the postseason. But that's where we kind of stand now with the Cubs is, you know, I want the magic number to go down because the Cubs earn it. It's a chance it goes down tonight because if the Padres lose, the magic number goes down to 4 to lock up the highest spot in the wild card race. But the Cubs need to really get this thing going more consistently. And the Reds have got the best of them the last 2 days. You got to go in against Pittsburgh, but that's Pittsburgh, right? It doesn't really count. You swept the Pirates. Doesn't really matter that you did that, but you nearly get no hit on Thursday. You give up 5 home runs on Friday. Need better performances over the next 2 days from the Chicago Cubs. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel, here with you all weekend before Matt and Sam are back with you on Monday. So thank you all for watching. Remember, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, plus wherever you get your podcasts on Apple and Spotify. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night. Peace.